Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new, and welcome to a quarter life or a midlife crisis. So I have been doing a lot of pondering and a lot of thinking, and I think that I'm coming upon an issue. So if you've been around for at least a month, then you know I've talked a lot about quitting my Etsy shop, quitting my full-time job, and also quitting social media. Basically, I'm just at a point where I'm ready to quit everything. And so I feel like we should maybe unpack that and talk about that, because I feel like, again, one of my own personal convictions is that if I'm going to show up on the internet or show up anywhere, it doesn't matter where I am, if I'm going to show up in person or on the internet, it is of my own personal conviction to show up as myself and authentically. And so I wouldn't say that I've been putting on a front, but what I will say is that recently I do feel like if I'm going to show up as like a watered down, fake, inauthentic version of myself, then it's not worth my showing up. And so for me, it's always important to make conscious efforts of showing up authentically. And so to avoid feeling like I'm showing up watered down or whatever, I feel like we should just unpack some of the thoughts that I've been having recently. So let's just talk about why I want to quit everything, and then we'll talk about why we'll unpack why that actually is. Or let's talk about, why I want to quit everything, and then we'll kind of unpack where those thoughts are actually coming from and those feelings and experiences. So let's start with, let's talk about just who I am as a person. So I am a person who has always been quite organized. I have always had like a clear vision of who I am, my belief system, how I want to show up. That's all been important to me. What's also been important to me is being present and in the moment. I am that person through and through. I just enjoy clarity, I guess. And so I feel like always make conscious efforts to make sure that I'm staying true to who I am and my own personal convictions and thoughts and beliefs. It's kind of like I have always felt like, because I'm so rooted in who I am and my faith and beliefs and all of that, I am not bothered by other people's beliefs and all of that. And I say that all the time. I feel like I mainly rant about that on Instagram, but I'm not bothered by people of different faiths or different sexual orientations and stuff like that. In fact, I stand with those different communities because I just feel like in this world we just have to be us and show up as ourselves, and we should be afforded that opportunity. Otherwise it could wreak havoc and cause some real turmoil, and I'm not here for that. So I guess when I die, I want to be known as not even for being known, but I just want to die having known for myself that I created space and allowed space for everyone who I've ever come in contact with to be themselves and be true to themselves, and not have to feel like they need to show up as a fake, phony, watered down, inauthentic version of themselves. And so because that's a personal conviction for me, I feel like I do the world justice and myself and everyone else just by extending that to other people. So I just like being inclusive in that way. So anyway, all of that to say, I'm also a person who enjoys being present. I'm the person who, if you come to hang over, my phone's going to be put away. I'm going to be fully, if you're coming over for game nights or to sit on the patio or whatever you might be coming over for, I'm going to be all in that. If I go over to your house to do X, Y, or Z, I'm going to be all in that. If we're shopping, I'm going to be all in that. If we're hanging out, me and my husband, we go dark for dinner when we go out all the time. It's just we put our phones away, keep them in the car or whatever. I just like to be present. It's really important to me to be present, because if not, life just passes us by, and I don't want that to happen for me. I feel strongly about that. I know I feel probably strongly and deeply about everything in life, but I really feel strongly that if nothing else, I want to be present. So I will also say that this rant was partially inspired by, well, it's something I've been thinking about for a while, and we'll continue to talk about who I am as a person, but this definitely had me thinking yesterday. My husband and I were, we were talking about a number of things. One of the things we were talking about is things that we'd like to work on individually, things that we would like to work on as a couple, and how we can go about what that would look like. It's easy to say, oh yeah, I want to communicate better, but what does that actually look like for you? What do you plan for that to look like? So we were talking about that. We were also talking about other things. And then I think the final piece of the conversation was how we want to show up for our future child. So we've been pretty strategic and structured and planned out and thorough about when we want to enter into parenthood, which is now. And so I will say the the bell definitely, the light bulb went off around 30 for us. We were like, okay, like, yeah, it's a thing. Which at that point we'd been married for, so basically like last year. And so at that point we'd been married for like 4 or 5 years or something like that. So I don't know exactly when the light bulbs went off, but somewhere around that age. And so now we've kind of just been really just kind of, you know, whatever. So basically what I'm saying is we are, yesterday we were talking about how we want to show up for our future child's life. And the reason why I was talking about we've been pretty strategic about this is because I promise you the version of parents that our future child, our first child will get, I assume that we'll get better as people as the years go on, but this version is going to be much better than, you know, like the newlywed version or like, you know, years ago, a version from years ago. So I love that for our future seedling. But how I want to show, my husband was sharing his thoughts and then I was sharing my thoughts, and I was thinking, you know, I enjoy being present in every moment. I'm present for friends, family members, loved ones. I certainly want to be present in my child's life. And that's probably, you know, like when I think about how I would like for them to describe me, present and dependable and so on and so forth. But really the thing that sticks to me is present. And this kind of all came about, some of these thoughts came about after having that conversation yesterday. But again, a lot of these are just, you know, me being present is just my own personal thing that I want to do in life in general and what I've been doing. It just kind of made me really think about it, I guess, when we're talking about parenthood, which, you know, I take that seriously because I plan to take that seriously because I love kids and child development and learning about effective parent-child relationships and all of that, obviously, as evidenced by the work that I do. But I kind of, my wheels started turning. And I rant about similar things all the time. Follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. But it really had me thinking. So I'm thinking, let's talk about this. Let's unpack this. Let's talk about who I am and what I want out of life, which my husband's currently cutting the grass. You probably can't hear it because we have an electric lawnmower and it's very quiet. But I asked him the same question, and so I'm going to have him, and he's currently pondering it. But what I asked him, which is what I asked of me earlier, is what are my deepest desires? You know, if I could wave a magic wand, which I can't, what is it that I would want out of life? What would be like a perfect life for me? And so my husband was saying some things, and I was like, you know, I want you to ponder that more while cutting grass and then come back and we'll reconvene, because sometimes when we're asked tough questions, we really got to go inward and really process the information. And so for me, let's talk about me. I want to be present in every moment. That's a personal thing that I've always wanted to do. So I want to be present in every moment in anybody's life who will allow me to be in their lives. And I want to be, I want a sense of freedom. I don't know that it's financial freedom necessarily, but I do want a sense of freedom. Like a freedom to not like buy things and stuff, but like a freedom to, which I do want freedom to pay bills and all of that and to buy things, I guess. But I really want a freedom to just be me. And so when I think about that, then I have to think about who I am and what that means to me. And so I was just thinking, you know, with I was just thinking about a lot. So then I was thinking about, you know, there's this culture, especially on social media, which kind of comes back to why I think about quitting social media. But there's this culture, there's this societal pressure norm to just want more and more and more and more and more. And for some people, I feel like that's okay. But then for me though, that's not okay, because that's not what I want out of life. I don't want a bunch, I don't want more and more and more and more. I want enough. That's all I want, enough. That's all I've ever wanted is enough. So then I was thinking about, okay, our current salary, by myself, I'll be honest about this, I make 6 figures just by myself. So when I think about our salaries together, I'm like, we actually make like way more money than what we ever need to. And so I actually did a mock budget the other day. Frequently I do this, but I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, first of all, when we were apartment living 2.5 years ago, we probably could survive off of $1,500 a month, no cap. But now, with our current mortgage and pest control and all of that, we're probably looking at like double that, so closer to $3,000. And I was thinking like, wow, we could pay our bills with one source of income. You know, like I'll just speak for myself. Just from my full-time job, I could pay all of our bills. So then it had me thinking like, well, why do we earn so much money? Like, how do we get here? And then I was thinking, well, you know, I'm a social worker, my husband's a teacher, so it's not like we have like, you know, the most highest income earning professions. But then I was thinking about YouTube, and then I started thinking about wanting to quit it. But then I was thinking like, okay, well, when I started YouTube about 5 years ago, I didn't know there was money to be made, but there is. And then, you know, the money has just been flowing to me. I literally don't go chase the money. Like I don't, you know, I don't go looking for sponsorships. I don't email brands. I don't do any of that. The money just comes to me very authentically and organically, which I feel like I allow that to happen. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with it. But then I'm thinking, well, because of which we then have like a much higher income. We have so much income that we have to really try to figure out what to do with it and like how to be the best stewards of our money. That's what I've been preaching. Even the side income that we earn, the goal always is to put it towards some financial advancement that we otherwise wouldn't be afforded the opportunity to have. So it doesn't matter. I have no like real goals for views or income. Like whatever I get is what I get. I'm not going to be out here doing anything extra trying to hunt down views and money and all of that, because it's just not who I am as a person. I'm not always on a paper chase or a chase to have more and more and more, obviously, because I already said that. So anyway, so then I was thinking like, you know, we're in this position where we could literally survive off of one income, but yet we are, you know, some months we just kind of, you know, spend more than what we really should be, like more than what the law should really allow, just because we have the extra income. So then I'm just like thinking, and I'm like, you know, it's always been hard for me navigating the social media space, I guess, because I don't really feel like I fit in, I guess. I have an issue with people. I always say just because you can charge for something or can charge a certain amount doesn't mean that you should. Like just because you probably could get away with charging $200 for a hoodie, just because you might be a popular YouTuber or celebrity or whatever, doesn't mean that you should, because that's inhumane. Like who can afford that? And I think about other things like expensive courses and ebooks and things, and I'm just like, you know, I feel like everybody should be compensated for their work for sure, so that we can all have a decent life. But I mean, at what point does decent become greed? You know, I think people walk that fine line, and I don't want to be greedy. Like that's definitely not what I want to be known as. And so I was just so that's why I think I sometimes don't really fit into this space too well, because I feel like I just want to be decent, and I think other people want to be decent too, but I don't know that. I think sometimes they maybe cross that line, and that's problematic for me, because whenever I feel like the more popular YouTubers or whomever are doing their thing, which might be schemy or scammy or whatever it might be, then that kind of makes it difficult for the smaller folks like me to kind of live our truth and all of that, because I guess we're less seen and less heard of. So if you go on YouTube and you search for anything, probably the most popular video is going to pop up. Probably the person with the most views has the most subscribers and whatever. So we kind of just fall through the cracks. And so I guess that's my issue with YouTube, is because I don't want to be in that mix and known for those types of things. But I guess I don't necessarily have an issue with how I show up. I feel like I have been showing up authentically and being the realest version of me that I can be, but still it just kind of feels kind of awkward trying to navigate this space. So that kind of is what leads me to want to throw in the towel on YouTube, because I just feel like it's just a weird space to try to navigate. It's just difficult, I guess is what I'm saying. And so anyway, I was thinking about all of that, and then I was thinking about, you know, my full-time job, and then I was thinking about, you know, I have a real issue with Instagram, so many ads, so many people trying to sell stuff, and it's just annoying over there. And I try to limit my time to 15 minutes per day over there, because it's very chaotic and very hectic, and that stuff annoys me. And again, another weird space to navigate, because that's just not what I want to do with my life, or with my Instagram rather, or my presence on social media. I refuse to be a running ad, or, you know, some of the other types of things. So it's just difficult to even be in that space, because it's kind of like, it's just this, we live in this world where everybody wants more and more and more, and they want to, you know, when it comes to money especially, because money affords you to be able to have more of a lot of other things, and that's just not, it's not a vibe for me. That's not something that I want. And so then I was thinking about our house. And then I was thinking about, like, we have 4 bedrooms and an office, and I love our house, I guess. Like, I don't have any problems with it. I feel like it's definitely peaceful. It's everything that I want it to be. But then I'm like, is this in excess? And then I was thinking about our vehicles. We have 3, there's 2 of us. Is that in excess? And then I was just thinking about everything. Like, are we living in excess? Because here's the thing. I don't have any real issue with living in excess necessarily, but when I think about what my goals and values and convictions are, and then I think about the life that I'm living currently, they don't align whatsoever. Because if my goal, like I mentioned earlier, one of my things that I want to do is to, let's say, be more present, be as present as I can in my future child's life, then, well, as it stands with me working full time, and then also I make space for YouTube and all of this. So I try to do like no more than like 8 hours per week with this stuff, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. And of course, this actually earns me the same amount as my full-time job, but 1/4 of the work. And so that's all well and good. But then I think about, well, if I'm currently working like 48 plus hours a week, well, that's going to be taking up time that I would be able to be present. Not only would it take up time that would it be able to be present in a future child's life, but really it's taking up time that I can be present currently, Like, it's currently slightly problematic. It definitely would be problematic in the future. And then when I think about, there's something going on with my nose. Then when I think about, I'm not editing this video, by the way, so enjoy that little weird thing. I don't know what's happening. I think that I sprayed too much setting spray and some got in my nostril, because there's nothing wrong with this one, but this one she's having problems. I don't know what's happening. So yeah, I think I'm like trying to remove setting spray. But anyway, what was I saying? I guess I was talking about my current goals and values, aspirations, convictions, and the life that I'm living. And so then I was thinking, like, if my goal is to be present, then right now I'm just hustling backwards, because I'm far from present, right? Like, I'm not as present as I could be. Then when I think about, so hear me out. So I was thinking, just hear me out. We have this house that we're going to be paying on for a while to have it paid off, because it's $200,000+, which obviously there are houses out there that are like worth $500,000, $1 million, or whatever. But I'm just thinking, like, we have this house, so we're already gonna be spending a good bit of time paying it off. So that pretty much means that, we'll always have to work full time, essentially, because we have to pay off this house. But we don't have to have this house. Like, we could definitely have a smaller house. It's very difficult to maintain this house anyway, as me personally. And so I'm like, well, we have this huge house that we're gonna be paying off for who knows how long. We could actually have a smaller house, like a 3-bedroom, which would be plenty. And, a 3-bedroom, I think that's the dog, a 3-bedroom, and like, less expensive, maybe like $100,000. And, well, technically with the current housing market, we could probably make $100,000 just off the sale of this house alone. But we could have a smaller house. We could downgrade, actually, because we don't have any, like, we're not materialistic people. We have no strong connection to material things, or this house, or our cars, or whatever. So we could downgrade and get a smaller house and have it paid off much more quickly, which would then allow for us to be more present. I could work, 25 hours a week. My husband can work 20 hours a week, or something like that, just because, we could be mortgage free more quickly. I think about our cars. We could downgrade a car. I just think about all these things, and I'm like, they're really, while they're okay, it's not like it's the end of the world. We have a $200,000+ house, that we have 4 bedrooms, and that we have 3 cars and all of that. But it's kind of like these things aren't really in alignment with who we are as people, and so, and what we want out of life. And so I guess where it gets difficult for me is because we live in a world on or off of social media where there is this heavy emphasis on, more, earning more money, buying more things, upgrading this, driving the newest this and that and the third. And it's just kind of like we can all easily get wrapped up in that. And so for the people who don't want to get wrapped up in that, and whose goals do not align with this type of foolery that's taking place, we kind of just either have to conform or try really hard to oppose, or, you know, sometimes then getting kind of just sucked into it, and it's very difficult to navigate that. And so even when talking about my Etsy shop, bringing it full circle with me wanting to quit everything. So I really don't want to quit my job, though. I will say I do definitely want to work a job that is in more alignment with my goals and values, but my issue that really is just like the amount of work that I'm actually doing. Like, if I could wave a magic wand, I would want to work like 28 hours per week or something like that. I recently saw a job in my field that it's part-time, like 20 something hours a week, and it's $50,000. And I'm thinking, like, I could definitely do some things with $50,000. Like, that's not even like a small amount of money. You know what I'm saying? Like, for $50,000, I could really, like, just me personally, like, I could live off of that, I think, just by myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, $50,000 goes a long way for a person or a couple. So I was thinking, like, wow, like, I'm really out here working 40 plus hours a week when I could be working like 20 something hours a week. What is happening here? And then my camera cut off, so now I lost my train of thought, if you're wondering why I'm losing my train of thought. And anyway, so I really don't know where I was at all, but what I do know is that trying to navigate, I think I was talking about wanting to quit my job. So I don't really want to quit working full-time necessarily currently. I just wish that I could work less and still reap the same benefits, I guess, from a full-time job, or work a part-time job that pays enough to, you know, feasibly cover other areas of life like health insurance, medical insurance, that type of thing. But bringing it around to Etsy, you know, I opened my Etsy shop a few years ago, and I did like 20,000 per year with Etsy. And while that was all well and good, if you only knew the amount of time and I'm a great time manager, I will say, like, anytime anything new is added to my life, I've shifted and changed, and I make it work. Like, I'm going to make it work, whereas I can still do the things that I enjoy doing in this new role, whatever that may be. And that was all well and good, but the amount of time that both of us put into filling orders, that's time that we won't get back. And so I guess the moral of the story is we don't get time back, and so we have to choose how we're spending our time. And so when I think about the life that I want, I think about, you know, a peaceful life, a present life, one where I'm really attentive to and in tune with the needs of my child and my household in general. I guess you could think I have like a homemaker, stay-at-home mom / wife mentality, very traditional. I will say that. I do have that mentality, but it's just like, that's just naturally what it is. It's not like I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, or I want to, you know, whatever, be a homemaker or anything like that. It's just like, when I think about what would be an ideal life for me, it more so aligns with that lifestyle rather than a hustling lifestyle. And so we live in a world where there is a hustling lifestyle, and people are telling you how to hustle more and this and that and the third. And so what I've always tried to do on YouTube especially, or just in life in general, is just to kind of talk about like how you can have a decent balance in life. Like, sure, if you need, because some people do need a side hustle and additional income. So if you do need that, like, YouTube is an option, or Etsy or whatever, but you don't have to like spend your whole life filling orders or spend every day, all day doing YouTube stuff. You can have strict boundaries, which I do. And I've always tried to share that with other people, because there are some people who are just in a different position than what we're in. But I have just strongly been thinking about how the life that I'm living is in alignment with the life that I want to live, and been thinking about how to make that happen, because as of right now, it's not really happening. And I guess I felt the need to share it, because in a world where there is a whole hustle culture, it's kind of like sleep. There's nothing in this world that would make me stay up late to not get my 8 hours of sleep. I get 8+ hours of sleep every night, and I have for 30 years. And there's nothing that would stop me from doing that unless I need to tend to a human. Like, that's the only thing, like, or a pet. If lady was sick, if our dog were sick or something, I would tend to her, or a human, I would tend to them. But there's no amount of work, no amount of exercise, TV, nothing that would make me want to not get my 8 hours of sleep, which a lot of people think that's weird. I'm like, yeah, I sleep for 8 hours a night. I just let my body do its thing. Like, I go to sleep, and when my body wakes up, which is normally after 8 to 9 hours, I go to sleep pretty early. Then, you know, that's just how I live my life. And so people kind of make fun of you when you have like real strict boundaries, and when you're trying to adhere to a certain lifestyle, like working out, which there are some people who take some things like way seriously, and it's just unhealthy. you know, like working out 365 days out of the year and feeling really bad if you don't work out and all of that, it's probably excessive. Like, that's probably doing way too much. But because, I mean, I'm sure if you're doing 365, I'm sure there you could miss a few days in there, and if you do, you shouldn't feel really bad about it. But while there are definitely people who do way too much, there are like healthy balance. You know, like they recommend 8+ hours of sleep each night, or 7 to 8 hours or whatever for an adult. And they recommend what is it, like they're 150 hours of exercise per 150 hours, 150 minutes, 130. I don't know. I should ask my husband. He teaches health. Whatever. There's a recommendation for exercise. There's like actual recommendations out there and guidelines to follow. And, you know, we live in a world where there's hustle culture, and so people are forgetting to do their exercising and to do their sleeping, and they're just neglecting these basic human needs. And I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. I don't care how many orders I have to fill, what YouTube videos are or aren't, like, I don't care about any of that. I'm going to sleep. Like, there are things that I feel like I should be afforded, and a good night's rest is one of them. I'm a better person for it. And so anyway, all of that to say, today's rant was brought to you by this conviction to live a life that is in more alignment with the life that I actually want to live. So I guess I'll stop the rant here because we're already at like 25 minutes. So this is probably enough of a rant, but I guess I want to end this with challenging you to think about if the life that you're currently living is in alignment with the life that you ultimately want to live. If deep down in your soul, you want to upgrade from your apartment to a nice house in the burbs, then are the actions that you are taking right now leading you in that direction? If your goal is the opposite of that, to downgrade are you moving in the direction of that? Like, everybody has different goals and values and things that they want out of life. And I feel like no matter what it is that you want out of life, especially so long as it's not hurting anybody, or not especially, as long as it isn't hurting anyone else, then we should all be able to be afforded those opportunities and be working towards those. Also, I want to mention a sensitivity, I guess, to some people who they really, you know, it's kind of like when we talk about paying off debt and investing and all of these different things. And, you know, if that's a personal conviction of yours, then by all means. But some people really don't have, like, we want to retire early, again, for peace, for serenity, for presence. I actually plan to retire officially for sure, like altogether, when my child has their first child, so I could be a full-time grandma, because that's a lifelong goal of mine. We'll see how that goes. I'll keep you guys posted, I guess, if I'm around at like 50 or whatever, 60, I don't know. But I lost my train of thought. This is why I should stick to the script that I never have when I'm filming a video. But some videos I film so regularly that I already know like how they flow and what to say and do. And then some like this, I'm just spitting off the top of my dome. Oh, I know what I was saying. There are some people though who, when we talk about investing and saving and all of that kind of stuff, there are some people who literally are, you know, earning the amount that they're earning, actively working to earn more and all of that, but also maybe the cost of living where they live is super high, and that's a real thing. The federal minimum wage where I live is $7.25. So if you think about that, that's like $500 per every 2 weeks per paycheck, and $1,000 a month isn't going to really allow you to, you know, live on your own and rent, you know, a decent place, you know. So there definitely are disparities, socioeconomic disparities that we need to always be mindful of. And so I always try to share a sensitivity to that. But then again, I feel like a tribe. There is a tribe, or there are a tribe. Some people say family are, some people say family is when there's certain sentences. I don't know. Staff are, staff is. I don't know what the right thing is. I feel like a tribe, but it is a tribe. Anyway, there are people out there whose lifestyle more closely resonates with mine, or whose lifestyle, their aspiring lifestyle resonates with the one that I'm living. And so I do think that there are people out there, and we're here. So that's why I show up here each and every day. But just know that it has become increasingly difficult because trying to navigate social media is difficult. I do prefer YouTube because I can kind of just stay in my own lane. Like realistically, I could just create my content and that's it. Like I don't really have to watch any other YouTube content if I don't want to. Like I could really just do that. Whereas on Instagram, I feel like even if I go to post on Instagram, there's probably gonna be like 12 ads that I'm gonna see before I actually am able to make the post. So there's not a lot of control with what you see on Instagram. I don't think, maybe there are in the settings, but I've not navigated the settings, but I do think I could control it more on YouTube. So I guess technically I could just show up and peace out. But there are people who I like people who live a simple life. I do like to watch people who might be living in luxury, whatever that looks like to them, like some kind of high rise or whatever, not because of that, but not because I aspire to that, just because I like their personality, that kind of thing. And I like, their values and what they stand for. So, we have to be mindful of what we're consuming and why we're consuming it, and always keeping that at the forefront, because otherwise you may get in a habit of comparing and contrasting, and we don't want that. That's not what this is for. I know social media makes that difficult, but that's not what this is for. This is not for comparing, because even if I try to compare, I normally fail at that. Like it normally does not evoke any negative feelings, because I'm like, oh, cool, they are a full-time content creator, must be cool to have that creative freedom. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to be a full-time content creator, so that doesn't matter to you, Shay. Or, oh, look, they have a nice BMW or whatever, but then it's like, well, you would never, well, I don't say never, but it's very unlikely that you would buy a BMW, Shay, and spend your hard-earned money on that. So, it doesn't even matter what they're driving. So sometimes I do think, like, I have these thoughts like, oh, look, they got this, or oh, whatever. But then I'm like, well, that doesn't matter to you, because that's not what you want out of life. What do you want out of life? So it's important to always keep that at the forefront and try to work towards actively achieving what it is that you want out of life, and making sure that your future goals are in alignment with your current goals, and that what you're doing now is helping you to achieve your deepest and greatest aspiration. So anyway, I'm gonna cut this video off now, because I said that I was gonna do it 5 minutes ago, and we are 5 more minutes in. So we're now like 30 minutes in to the video, which I think is a long enough time for a rant. So anyway, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, what life you want to live. Do you ever find yourself comparing yourself to people on social media? Do you ever find it a struggle to scroll social media? Do you find it a struggle to live in a world that's heavily consumed by consumerism and capitalism, even though you oppose those things, or those things are not in alignment with what you are, who you are? Do you want to live a more simple life? What do you want out of life? What are your deepest goals? Let me know in the comments section below. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I will catch you guys back here in a few days in what I think will be my July reset routine. So that's it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.